My next guest is one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood. She also happens to be on the cover of the new Shape magazine on newsstands now. And in it, she reveals, I'm excited about this, her passion for cooking as a way to connect with friends. I need to get some recipe tips and find out more from, I guess, the new best friend in my head, Chloë Grace Moretz. So good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to meet you, online, but hopefully in person next time.
Absolutely. I'm checking out the kitchen. I see some things in there I'm going to ask you about in a second. But let me start with this great article in Shape magazine. You said in it, I don't want people to say I know for sure who Chloë Grace Moretz is as an actor or a person for that matter. What did you mean by that?
Well, for me, I think the most important thing that I've learned over the years kind of growing up is to constantly be able to grow and learn and change no matter what. And I feel the same way about that in my career. I constantly kind of want to keep myself on my toes. I want to, keep myself guessing and keep that excitement and that, that drive underneath me going. So I kind of like to, for instance, in the same year as filming Tom and Jerry, I filmed a movie called Shadow on the Cloud, which is a World War II movie with me in the belly turret position on a plane. And it was just the complete opposite of a, PG-13 comedy.
Well, that's what I love, because you keep them guessing. And I think that's why so many people, both your peers and fans, look up to you. In 2016, you took a break from the business. That was a big decision. What prompted that? Because I think folks, admire that what we call around here the leap of faith.
Completely. I, for the first time in my entire career since I was 5 years old, I decided to speak up and say, I want to sit back for a second. I need to take a break and breathe and, learn to read about things that I want to read about again, listen to things I want to listen to, watch things I want to watch, and figure out who I am as a young woman moving into this new kind of phase of my life, not just my career. And it was a really daunting task at first, to sit in your silence and to figure out who you are and what are your wants, what are your needs, and how to keep your life growing and changing.
That's so fascinating, too. I mean, you started acting, what were you, like 7 years old? You were a baby.
Yeah.
And then you grow up in front of us. And then at this point, in your life, you make a very big and bold decision. And I know you're from the South, and we call people like you someone who has an old soul, that you just have this measuredness about you. Where do you think you got that from, Chloë?
It's definitely something that I learned from my family and I learned from my mama. She taught me so much of that growing up, and I grew up with 4 older brothers, so I always had, a voice and a seat at the table, and they always, enlivened that in me, that discussion and that want and that need to be able to speak for myself and figure out what I want to talk about, quite frankly. But part of it I also feel like is, you can't really describe it. You're just kind of born with that.
I have always liked you from afar. Can I tell you how much more I love you now? And that's the power of conversation. That's what we're talking about on the show, connecting. And I've always watched your films. I've always admired how you've handled yourself and navigated things. And now just vibing with you from afar and now having this conversation that's just not about, plugging a project. This is who you are. It is so refreshing. And I think that's why you stand out from so many others. I'll tell you, this weekend, I put in your new movie, Tom and Jerry. I'm 50, so I'm old enough to remember a different version of Tom and Jerry. And I didn't know what to think when at first I said, Chloë is doing Tom and Jerry. I loved it. It was so adorable and so refreshing. I sat there, my son, he's 2 years old. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't even know Tom and Jerry. Let me explain this later. But I enjoyed it more than the kid. It was just good. It was cute and endearing. And I said, that's why she took that project. It's just something you can just escape with.
That was exactly it. And, I enjoyed the opportunity to be able to make something that, exactly that, you can watch with your kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can sit back and be able to, order some pizza or make some pasta and just have a nice time and not think for a minute.
I love that.